So for today's video, I have got a treat for all of you. Today's video, I'm going to be reading a success story submission from somebody who was gracious enough to give their full account of the incredible transformation that they made applying these teachings and the incredible journey that led them from where they were to where they are now, living their very best life. It is a rather long success story, but I love the fact that they go into great detail about all of the things that they went through along the way, overcoming the obstacles that they did, including long distance, third parties, mental health diagnosis, all of the challenges they faced to ultimately find success and happiness at the very end. Because who doesn't love a great success story? As always, my aim is to help motivate and inspire each of you to persist in going to that end state, build on that trust within yourself as the operant power, and ultimately come to the understanding that nothing is impossible to you. So without further ado, let's dive on in. Hi, Missy. I hope that this is where I'm able to contact you regarding an SP success story I had a while ago that I would love to share with you. I just finished writing it as I'm adding this part, and I apologize for how stupidly long and detailed this is. I tried to shorten it as much as I could. I first and foremost really wanted to express my gratitude for your teachings, as well as how compassionate and open you are with helping others. I've been attempting conscious creation for the better half of 5 years, and I've been through the ringer with different teachers, as well as different ways of applying the law, and I am just now fully unlocking my potential thanks to you. I'm a big believer in doing whatever feels right, even if it might be in contrast to what another might teach. But I can confidently say that you hit all of the boxes in what I personally needed. I'll get into the phases I've been through on my journey, but I cannot thank you enough for the care you put into the videos you make. I think it's important to give a little backstory to my success story relating to my SP. The backstory and circumstances, as well as the mental issues I had suffered with, seemed completely and utterly impossible to get over. So I love talking about how things changed so quickly once I got it all down. I think it's also important to preface everything by saying that I have BPD, borderline personality disorder, healing very rapidly thanks to the law in your videos though. And if you know anything about it, then you'll know it's pretty much a nightmare when it comes to interpersonal relationships. I truly think that even if I can do it, anyone can. LOL. Okay, so I met my SP back in late 2020 in a group chat with a bunch of new friends on Instagram. This was around the time where the pandemic was full force, and I had literally nothing else to do but sit around all day. I was 17 at the time, so I didn't have many responsibilities. I was chatting casually with some of the new friends of my friends that I had been added. Shortly after, my SP joined in for a split second. When he sent his first message to the group chat, something changed. This feeling had never been like anything I've felt before. It was the strongest attraction to a person I had ever personally experienced up to that point. And to this day, that feeling still hasn't changed. At the time, I was too shy to directly initiate things with him, but I knew in my soul that I was going to have him, and nothing was going to change my mind about it. Unfortunately, right off the bat, I learned that he had a boyfriend, lived in the UK, and wasn't even online often enough for me to talk to him in any way that would have been meaningful. Regardless of these things, I was locked in. I had an idea of what the law of assumption was, but didn't know how to apply it. So I went into this journey not even considering it as a viable option. One day, though, he DM'd me, and we talked very on and off for about a year. A few months after he first DM'd me, I really started going into the law of assumption, but I was awful at it. I was all over the place, and I immediately put him on a pedestal that was so high I couldn't even see the damn top. The obsession I had over this man was embarrassing, to say the least. I did anything I could to manifest him in, but was consistently double-minded every day. I was robotically affirming like crazy, and I felt like shit the entire time, because I was told to flip every single thought I had. Although on the bright side of this time frame, something I should have taken into account is that even though I was feeling like shit, he was still conforming. Even if it was very hot and cold, he would DM me sometimes, incredibly interested in talking to me, even sometimes just randomly hitting me up and saying goodnight, and that he loved me / was thinking about me. However, it would always fade away, and at the time, I didn't know why. In late 2021, I would go through phases of having a ton of motivation to affirm, to doing it for about 2 weeks, then giving up when I had a bad day. It was incredibly frustrating. I hated that I knew that it was working, but that I couldn't make it stick. One day, I had enough, and I decided that I was going to robotically affirm like crazy, and I did. In the beginning of 2022, for 2.5 months straight, I robotically affirmed 24/7. I flipped every single thought I had, and it was hell. I was so fed up that I was willing to go through the torture that was constantly putting my brain and nervous system into overdrive, just so that I could have this man. If I could go back and do it differently, knowing what I do now, I would in a heartbeat. It was that bad. Eventually, one day, I fell off of affirming and ended up just stopping completely. I didn't feel like I cared enough to continue putting myself through that, but I still felt the emotional attachment that I had for him. I carried on like that for about a week after stopping the affirming. Then one day, he DM'd me after not messaging for months. He told me that he and his now ex had broken up, but was now with someone else. It sucked to hear that, but even though it hurt to hear that news, something felt different. He was talking to me in a sweeter way and was genuinely interested in carrying on a conversation, something he had rarely ever done prior. He kept talking to me, day after day, consistently. In fact, he prioritized talking to me over most of his other friends, and would stay up late in the night to hear from me due to the time difference. He would message me first thing every morning, and I was always the last person he messaged before he went to sleep, because he wanted to keep me updated constantly. He would tell me he loved me nonstop. I immediately got back to affirming 24/7, because there was no way in hell I was going to let this go away. Missy, I kid you not, for a whole 1.5 years, I affirmed nonstop. I flipped every single thought, because it worked for me, and I felt like it was what I had to do. I couldn't even feel secure in knowing that he liked me enough to talk to me nonstop, because I was too anxious over the idea that everything that I had been working for would go away. He was conforming to my affirmations right before my eyes, but I just couldn't bring myself down to enjoy it, because I was so scared of my own brain. My nervous system was shot, too. I was constantly in fight or flight mode, no matter what. Eventually, in May of 2023, he broke up with his boyfriend, and shortly after was very clearly and openly showing signs of being into me. Mind you, this man was so emotionally closed off before all of this, so seeing him actually fawn over me was actually insane. He was becoming everything that I wanted, but unfortunately, I couldn't accept it. He had feelings for me, something he had said he had for a while, but never admitted to that point. His ex was actually the one who made him realize that he liked me. He told me that they had a lot of arguments about me. Oops. He told me that he thought about me constantly, that he was always thinking about being with me, that he thought of me when he saw happy couples on social media, that he wanted to hold me in the way that I wanted him to. We planned a date for me to fly and stay with him, which never ended up happening. Shit, even his parents and friends liked me, something I also affirmed for. But unfortunately, because I was taught that my thoughts create reality, and because my thoughts were completely unbalanced and intrusive, I couldn't see his love for what it was. It all came to its peak one day when I just stopped everything. I let all of my thoughts take over, and I spiraled. Everything unraveled shortly after. He got back with his ex, he stopped talking to me completely, and he pretended as if we weren't anything at all. He acted as if I didn't exist, and was supposed to just be okay with it. He showed zero remorse. I was crushed, to say the least. Instead of feeling determined to get back on my game, though, I just fell into depression. I stopped all law of assumption anything, and was honestly a shell of who I once was for a while. However, in November of 2023, I found your channel. I hadn't taken in any law of assumption content since everything fell apart with my SP, but I was still drawn to you and your ability to be so concise. I was slightly apprehensive when I heard about your view of the law. I was so used to affirm, affirm, affirm that it made me slightly uncomfortable to trust that it could be easy and enjoyable to get what you want. Even though I was hesitant, I went along with it. This was my first attempt at Neville's way. When I tell you that this felt so much different, I mean it, wholeheartedly. I could actually relax and know that I was allowed to be human, which was honestly something I hadn't felt like in a while. I would just allow my doubts to pass, which I had a lot of in the beginning, and just redirected my thinking into what I wanted casually throughout the day. Overall, I really wanted to be my SP's boyfriend, LOL, but I didn't feel too confident in fully jumping into it after what had happened previously. But regardless, he started conforming within a few weeks. I was actually amazed, but I kept him at arm's length for a while, just until I felt like I was healed enough to go all in. I was still affirming, but in a way that didn't feel forced or robotic. It was genuinely something enjoyable that I could get into the groove of without feeling pressured. Soon after I started applying what you were teaching, I manifested 2 other guys that I had been romantically involved with previously, just to build my faith, both of which I haven't spoken to in years. Yes, years. Like, what? With all of that being said, things really shifted when I started doing SATs. I was feeling much, much more confident in my abilities, and I felt good knowing that I was truly able to create what I wished to experience. So getting into the feeling state was rather easy for me. Ironically, what I found was hard for me was getting into that dreamlike, drowsy state, and sometimes I would get frustrated or just not feel like doing it. But I was gentle with myself and got into doing it anyways. I imagined a scene that implied that I had everything I wanted with him. I envisioned it being Christmas Eve of 2024, and that he, his family, and I were all in his living room enjoying each other's company, as well as opening gifts. Keep in mind that I had literally no idea what his living room looked like. He moved shortly after he stopped talking to me, and I hadn't asked him to show me for obvious reasons. In my scene, he got up, got a gift for me, and sat down in front of me before handing it over. I unwrapped it to see a custom scrapbook he secretly made over the previous year we had spent together. It was December of 2023 by this point in the 3D, and I wanted to be with him for the majority of the year 2024, as well as being in the UK spending Christmas with him in person. I envisioned him giving me a hug after, and him telling me that he was in love with me. I had one of his rings on my finger in the scene as well. My brain thought it would be fun to add it, I guess. LOL. I felt every emotion that I would have felt when receiving the gift, and I could feel everything with all of my senses. It was actually kind of scary. I did the exact same scene for about 3 weeks. It changed slightly every time I did it, but the feeling still remained the same. Sometimes it was harder to do. Sometimes it was extremely easy. Luckily, I was gentle with myself and didn't give up, thanks to you. On January 17th of 2024, he called me. He had never called in all of my years of knowing him, so I knew it had to be serious. He was bawling, telling me he had the most vivid dreams of living his life with me. He told me that he didn't know where they were coming from or why, because he had rarely ever dreamt, but he told me that they made him realize that his feelings for me had never left. He said that his mom and friends were asking about me, and that the night prior, he started crying in the shower due to the overwhelming feelings he had been experiencing. Of course, I was receptive, pretending to have no idea what was going on, but expressing that I was always going to be there to support him. He asked me on the spot to be with him, which I hadn't expected. It was like my reality knew exactly what I wanted right then and there. No bullshit, since commitment was always the issue I had fully gotten prior. We got together officially shortly after the call, within the days following, and we talked nonstop over the phone up until June, when I flew to the UK to stay with him. His parents were so welcoming, and his friends talked to me as if he and I had been together for years. Everything felt so natural. The scariest thing is that when Christmas rolled around, every single thing in my sat scene was on point. The living room layout is identical, which is honestly the most shocking thing. Every detail was absolutely perfect, even down to his god-awful gift wrapping skills. I had completely forgotten about my sat scene until I looked down and saw the little wolf head ring that he'd given me months prior. My heart jumped out of my chest when I realized that it was playing out. Like when I had been doing in my sat scene in 2023, I would put Christmas music on the background to help me get into that feeling, and even that was matching up. When he handed me the scrapbook, I told him what it was, and a few of the pictures that I knew would be inside, before I even opened it. It was genuinely that perfect and on point. So, needless to say, I started absolutely sobbing everywhere. Like everywhere. It was a tear massacre. I had never felt something so comforting in my life. He gave me a tight hug, told me he was in love with me, and that it was a dream to be with me. I'm still here with him as I'm writing this. In fact, I'm planning on moving in with him soon. He is genuinely everything I could have ever asked for, and more. I never thought I'd be capable of living such a life with someone I love so deeply, especially after all of the bullshit I had experienced for so long. It genuinely doesn't feel real sometimes. Like, wow, my SP is my boyfriend. That's insane. Thank you so much, Missy. I literally cannot express how grateful I am for you and all that you do. You're the one person who is able to help me, and I can't even begin to find the words to explain how much that means to me. Needless to say, by the time that I was finished reading the story, I was misty-eyed. What an incredible feat. And they had originally reached out and sent me the story in March of 2025. And I was curious to know of any updates, so I reached back out to them a couple days ago, now in August of 2025, to see how things have been going and if anything had changed since that story first came over. And here's what they wrote in that update email. Everything is going amazing, like truly just amazing. I put a lot of time and effort in my own mental state, as well as my self-concept after finally manifesting the man of my dreams. I no longer meet any of the criteria for a BPD diagnosis, and I'm happier than I ever thought possible. My boyfriend, still crazy to me that he has this label for me now, haha, is happier than ever as well. I manifested his biological dad, building a healthy connection with him, and he's now fully accepting of our relationship. He's planning on going to university again to catch up on lost time after dropping out years ago, and he's completely ecstatic about it. The British schooling system really confuses me, to be honest, so I'm just along for the ride, haha. Getting a visa sorted is showing to be a bit harder than I thought, but we're making it work really well. I visit often enough to where I might as well live there. I truly don't think that he thought he could ever feel this loved and appreciated. Seeing him happy is enough to push me to keep going for multiple lifetimes. We truly have the kind of relationship that you'd see in the movies. Like the type you'd see and go, yeah, okay, like that could happen. I absolutely love the life I have. I still can't fully believe that it's mine. Everything feels so much lighter when you can actually take a step back and just exist, you know? I'd love to give a better rundown if you wouldn't mind reading a longer email. The complete 180 he did is genuinely still giving me whiplash to this day. Again, I cannot thank you enough for all of the work and effort you put into helping others live their best lives. Thank you so much for taking the time to write me back. It means so much to me. And this is the kind of transformation that is truly moving to hear about, because not only did the circumstances change, but he changed everything about his self-concept, how he was feeling, no longer meeting the criteria for something that had held them back for so long, which only further goes to show of how incredibly powerful we are when we learn to tap into the right state, when we learn to fully trust and immerse ourselves in being the person that we desire to be. But I thought it would be incredibly helpful to share this account with an update, a more recent update, showing that over a year after everything unfolded and transpired, it is still going strong and better than they could have imagined. And it's stories like these that give myself motivation to keep spreading this message, to keep reminding each and every one of you that is watching this video right now, that no matter where you are in your journey, no matter what the circumstances may appear for you, that nothing is impossible to you. That despite the long distance, despite the hot and cold behavior, despite the third parties, despite the mental health battles, despite everything that appeared to make this an impossible outcome, everything was still able to change. I resonate with this on such a deep level, because though it appeared that I had everything going against me, everything telling me that this was a pipe dream, that this was never going to be a possibility, that I should just give up and move on, all the fears and doubts and frustrations and insecurities that were constantly plaguing me, despite all of it, I not only manifested my person back, but have the beautiful privilege of calling him my husband, my partner in this life for over 7 years strong. And I wish this person nothing but the utmost happiness and powerful transformations going forward. Do not think for 1 second that you are an exception to the law and that any of the circumstances are immovable or impossible to change. Once you focus on changing you, everything in your world will change with that. No exception. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I hope this helped give some inspiration and motivation to each of you. If you did enjoy this success story, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you are interested in any of my other resources, I have links down below to my coaching programs, my workshops and masterclasses, my blog, my podcast, my social links. Got a ton of great resources down in that description box, so don't forget to check that out. Also, don't forget to check out any of the other videos on this channel. Don't forget to check out my Manifestation Fundamentals playlist. Each video is a different topic, but it all talks about how to manifest the best life possible. So until we meet next time, you guys, as always, please take care, be well, and never forget how powerful you truly are. Happy manifesting, guys.